Hi book friends, welcome to Biblio Happy Hour, a podcast about bookstores and everything bookish. I'm your host, Victoria Wood. In today's show, we'll be talking to the CEO of Booksellers New Zealand, Mr. Lincoln Gould. Today's episode is brought to you by Biblio Finder, a new online directory for independent bookstores. Biblio Finder allows users to find bookstores worldwide based on your current or planned location. If you love the show and what we're doing over on Biblio Finder and you want to help us support local independent bookstores, visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/bibliofinder. Patreon allows listeners like you to support the show as well as our online directory for independent bookstores. You'll also get additional perks for joining, such as access to our full podcast episodes, behind-the-scenes content, an opportunity to send in questions, get discount codes, shoutouts, plus more. That's patreon.com/bibliofinder. We'll also leave a link in the show details. Before we get started with today's episode, wherever you're listening, please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and leave us a rating and review. When you do this, you're helping us to reach a much larger audience, and it is one way you can help us to put independent bookstores at the forefront and make Biblio Finder plus the show a success. Alrighty guys, let's talk with our guest. Lincoln, thank you so much for coming on the show and welcome to Biblio Happy Hour.
Thank you very much. Delighted to be on the show.
So happy to have you here. So I'm really interested in knowing more about Booksellers Association in New Zealand. I know we met through finding your bookstore, Mazines. Tell us some history on Booksellers Association. How did this get all started? And tell us about your involvement.
Okay, Booksellers New Zealand, as the association is called, is 98 years old this year. So it began way back as an association of bookstores that were being established throughout the country, as part of the British Empire, as it was in those days.
Yes.
And the difficulty was getting books out from the UK. To the settlers, and there were one or two key people who were involved in that, and they decided to form an association to enable to act almost as a buying group in those days, but also to lobby government for assistance in developing the whole book culture. In New Zealand. New Zealand has a reputation. New Zealanders have a reputation for being great book readers. And this association has been instrumental in supporting and developing the book trade in this country and relating to government and to publishers and so on in support of independent booksellers.
Oh, okay.
We have over 200 members. 80 of those, around 80, are independent bookshops. The rest belong to a group which is a franchise group of owner-operators. They're more or less like independent bookshops, but they belong to this single brand which supports them from a marketing point of view. But they're all part of our association as well.
Okay. Sounds interesting. Seeing that there has been, just such a shift in the world in general, and as time has gone by, things have changed. What is the new mission of Booksellers Association? I mean, initially you just gave us some history, so we kind of want to know what is the direction of the association today?
Well, one of the things that we've done over the last 10 years that I've been CEO of Booksellers New Zealand is really get alongside our sister organisations in Australia and America, particularly in America, and the Booksellers Association in the United Kingdom. And we have learned a great deal from that association with those other organisations. And one of the big missions really has been the issue, and it sounds a bit dry, but the issue over goods and service tax
I see.
In America, for instance, you've had a big issue with the state sales taxes and trying to get Amazon and other online retailers to collect
Tax. Yep.
tax from the sale of books.
Absolutely.
And we have been doing this within our jurisdiction in terms of what's called goods and service tax, or GST.
Right.
And finally, we've got the government passing legislation as we speak that will see that competitive issue which booksellers have faced, with a 15% competitive problem for them before they even open their shops and trying to compete on price. That is being resolved, and come October the 1st this year, that new legislation will come into effect. And actually, that's when I'm retiring too.
Oh, you did all the heavy pulling, and you're leaving when it's all been seen through.
Yes, but the other things we do, which are fairly typical of other associations, we have Bookshop Day. We organise Bookshop Day.
Yes.
Across the country. We produce catalogues, and we also have a very strong social media activity with communicating with our bookshops and publishing material on best practice, also promoting books.
Right.
We manage a national radio program. Every day there's a book reviewed on New Zealand's national radio.
Wow, that's amazing.
We manage that, so we get engaged in quite a lot of marketing activities as well.
Wow, that sounds absolutely amazing. I like the book review a day. That sounds really good.
Yeah, it is actually.
Yeah, it sounds really good. How does the Bookseller Association help prospective owners or prospective bookstore owners to get their business going? Do you have support programs for that?
Yes, we do. In fact, this year, or the last 12 months, has seen a very welcome upsurge in new bookshops opening. We went through a very bad period like other countries after the 2009 financial collapse.
Yes.
And bookshops were closing.
Yep.
But now the ship has turned around, and the economy has turned around, and people are opening up new bookshops. I think we've had about 5 or 6 in the last 12 months. And interestingly, they are small bookshops, independent small bookshops, really focusing on their local communities. And that's how bookshops are competing with the offshore online retailers. So that's been and as far as we're concerned, we do help them in a number of ways. We have had a number of deals with suppliers such as electricity, such as banking services, and so on, where Bookshop hitches up to suppliers that we've got contracts with. They get cheaper rates. We also operate a book tokens or voucher system.
Yes, I saw that. Could you talk more about that?
Well, we sell, Booksellers New Zealand sell book tokens and gift cards to the bookshop and at a discount. And then the bookshops sell those tokens and gift cards to their customers.
I see.
Then those customers, I either send them off to Auntie as a gift or whatever, and then use those tokens to redeemed at bookshops to buy books.
Oh.
So I think a lot of bookshops in the United States probably have their own vouchers. This is a national scheme which has been very good for the association in terms of helping fund the association and also support the bookshops.
No, it sounds really interesting. So it's kind of like a gift card, except they get it at a discounted rate, and it can be used anywhere across the country.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Exactly right.
Yeah, that sounds really good. But so far, I mean, based on what you're saying, it sounds like the current health of bookstores in New Zealand, it's quite healthy. It's growing.
Well, it is. I mean, it's not an easy business to be in the sense of I don't think I'll ever, with my little bookshop, be able to afford a Porsche car.
Of course, I understand.
And I think a lot of booksellers really do it for the love of books.
Absolutely.
More than anything else. one of the things that we do, we try to encourage young people to go into the book trade, come into the book trade. And we have an association, we have a relationship with the American Booksellers Association, where we send two of our younger up-and-coming booksellers to the fabulous Winter Institute, which is held in various cities in the United States in January each year. And that relationship is quite an incentive for young people to apply for, and they spend the time at the Winter Institute, which is 3 or 4 days, and then they spend a week or a few days with a particular bookshop, getting training and experience in bookshops in the United States, and it's proving to be quite an exciting opportunity for younger booksellers.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that in itself is just amazing. They get to learn, and then they also get to see how bookstores abroad are operating. What do you see as the path forward for the Booksellers Association? Where is the future? What do you see?
Well, I'm sure the future is to continue to support our existing members and encourage new bookstores to come on board. The education side, I think, is quite important. That is teaching or providing opportunity for people to learn best practice in bookselling. I was very interested in going to Germany a few years ago, where they have a just out of Frankfurt, they have a campus which is dedicated to training booksellers, and it's quite a wonderful place.
Oh, really?
And I don't think there is a bookseller in Germany that has not gone through that campus. And it's very old. It's gone on for 100 or more years.
Wow.
And that side of people, many people might think that running a bookstore is simple, but it's as complex as any small business. And so learning about the back office and learning about book buying, and even down to ensuring that the window is fresh, and encouraging people to come into the shop and so on. All of those things can be done well or not well, and the opportunity to learn how to do them well is something I think the association really will focus on more in the future.
Absolutely. So you're seeing a future where we focus more on education and, just teaching the skill that is bookselling, because at the end of the day, it's retail, but it's not as simple as just, again, selling a book or just buying books that you like. It's about learning about your market, learning what the demand is, and trying to meet that need.
That's right. And I mean, the other thing about bookshops is they're also developing other products or other services. A lot of bookshops in this country, and I know in America too, are associated with either in-house or close by with coffee shops.
Yes, yes.
And I have just started a funny sort of way in my shop, selling old vinyl, old records in the 60s, 70s and 80s.
No, absolutely.
They're very popular.
Oh, they are indeed.
And I know one person who went to the Winter Institute and came back to New Zealand and started a small bookshop up in Auckland, started selling socks.
You're kidding.
Book socks.
That's interesting.
So, the bookshops in Featherston, which we've talked about before, many of them have got sidelines such as coffee or something of that nature.
Right.
Yes.
I've noticed, I agree with you 100%. Bookstores tend to have an add-on product, because I've heard, and again, I'm not a bookseller, so I don't know, but I've heard that the other items, they're able to have a higher profit margin on these things. So whether it's the socks like the lad you mentioned in Auckland, or t-shirts or bags or mugs or stationery, or in your case, records, people just find items that go with the theme of their bookstore or whatever it is they're selling.
Yes, the buying group that we have in this country, it's called Paper Plus. their stores have a lot of books, obviously, but they also have all sorts of different things like art supplies and paper and cards, gift cards, and so on. And a lot of independent bookshops do the same thing. I mean, in the older days, the bookshop in New Zealand would often sell the daily newspaper, and that sort of thing. And in some cases, Bookshop has taken on the role or added in the role of being the local post office, and so on. So there's all sorts of varieties upon the theme of being a bookseller.
Right, for sure. So is there anything new or upcoming with the association? Anything you're looking forward to this year?
Oh, well, our National Bookshop Day is in October is something we look forward to, and getting the bookshops to have events and competitions and so on within their bookshops to really promote the idea of community, of books in the community, and develop that whole part of the cultural scene in New Zealand, which is occupied, if you like, by bookshops.
Right. Okay. Well, I know Bookstore Day is a big day. It was a big day here in the US. We just had ours in April. And I know the New Zealand Bookstore Day will be just as amazing as well. Is there anything else I forgot to ask you or anything else you want to share?
No, I don't think so. I think it's very interesting talking about the association and the way you've asked the questions. And I guess one thing that we are thinking about, I mentioned that we're 98 years old, so in 2 years' time we'll be celebrating 100 years of the association. We haven't come up with anything particular yet, but I'm sure we'll commemorate that whole development of the book culture in New Zealand through the bookshops in special ways.
Oh, absolutely. And I will be keeping an eye out for that. I would love, for there to be highlights about the history, as, the initial book buyers to where they are now today as a support for local booksellers and prospective booksellers. So it would be really interesting to see the celebration for 100 years and just the history and how far it's come.
Yes, I should also mention that we have an annual conference. Which is in August, and that's a great event where booksellers come from all over the country, and we very often have international speakers, authors, or people from such as Oren Taika from the American Booksellers Association, and other bookshops in America come out and speak, and that's always a highlight of the association, in part because the people that come to the association can talk to other booksellers.
Yes.
And there's quite a camaraderie among them in that way. So conference is very important too.
Oh, absolutely. All righty. Well, I guess that's it. Lincoln, thank you so much for taking time out and coming on the show. We really appreciate it, and we love what everyone is doing, you and your team, over in New Zealand for booksellers all around the country. Thank you so much.
Not at all. Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity.
Alrighty guys, that's it for today's show. Thank you so much for listening, and special thanks to Lincoln Gould from Booksellers New Zealand for coming on the show. Don't forget to follow Biblio Finder and Biblio Happy Hour on social media and sign up for our newsletters. To listen to full episodes of our podcast, get behind the scenes content, weekly business updates, perks, and more, head on over to patreon.com/bibliofinder. And wherever you're listening, please don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review the show. Alrighty everyone, that's it, and I look forward to talking to you in our next show.